How you doing? Welcome to another edition of A Talk with Howie. I want to read little pieces from my book that I've written called The Awakening Chronicles. Chapter 1, First Light. The first stirring comes not as thunder, but as a whisper, a gentle pulling at the edges of what we thought we knew. It arrives in the space between sleeping and waking, in the liminal moment when dreams bleed into reality and consciousness shifts from one octave to another. In dreams that bleed into waking, in prayers that rise like incense from the altar of the heart, we begin to remember what we never truly forgot. The remembering is not like recalling yesterday's grocery list or last year's vacation. It's deeper, older, more fundamental. Like a fish suddenly remember its life in water, like a bird discovering it before born to flight. To become awakened is to step out of the sleep of centuries, out of the collective amnesia that tells us we are separate, but from the source that made us. It is to shake off the dust of forgetting and remember that we are not visitors to this cosmic dance, but its very essence made manifest in a temporary form. Eternal beings having human experiences rather than human beings hoping for eternal existence. This awakening is not a personal achievement to be earned through years of spiritual practice, though. Practice may help prepare the ground. It is more like a flower suddenly realizing it has always meant to bloom. A river remembering its destination is the sea, a wave discovering it has never separated from the ocean that gave its birth. The process begins with a crack in the certainty that has held our world together, a moment when familiar becomes strange, when the automatic becomes conscious, when what we took for granted reveals itself as an assumption rather than truth. Perhaps it comes through crisis, when the structures we relied upon suddenly crumble and we are forced to question everything we thought we knew. Perhaps it comes through beauty, when a sunset or a piece of music, a child's laughter opens a window in the heart we didn't know was closed. Or perhaps it comes through a simple, persistent feeling that there must be more to life than this endless cycle of getting and spending, rushing and worrying, of living lives that feel somehow borrowed from someone else. The feeling that we are sleepwalking through our own existence, going through the motions of being human without ever fully inhabiting our humanity. The elite, those who have always known their connection to the divine, have kept the secrets locked in libraries of light, written in languages only intended you could read. They have built walls of complexities around simple truths, creating hierarchies of knowledge where none need exist. They speak in codes and symbols and rituals and traditions that often obscure more than they reveal. Okay? These gatekeepers of wisdom, whether religious authorities or academic experts or self-proclaimed gurus, have created systems that make awakening seem like a privilege available only for the few, those with the right education, the correct beliefs, the proper lineage, the sufficient dedication. They parse and analyze and categorize the mystery until it becomes manageable, containable, controllable, like they've been controlling us. But awakening breaks all locks, translates all tongues, and makes every heart a temple and every mind a sanctuary where the sacred dwells. The Democrats divinity returning to every soul, the birthright that was never truly lost, only temporarily forgotten. The truth cannot be monopolized. The divine cannot be copyrighted. Awakening cannot be franchised or sold or reserved for the worthy few. When consciousness awakens to itself, it recognizes no authorities except true itself, no mediators except direct experience, no requirements except openness to what is actually here, beneath the story we tell ourselves about what should be here instead. Okay? The awakening dissolves the artificial barriers that have been constructed between the sacred and the ordinary, between the spiritual and the material, between heaven and earth. It reveals that these were never true divisions, but mental constructs designed to keep us seeking outside ourselves for what has always been present within us. And after you start awakening, you're going to realize, but look back in your life, that and you'll know that you've known the whole time. Okay? So the awakening dissolves the artificial barriers that have been constructed between us, the sacred and the ordinary, between the spiritual and the material, like I just read out. Yes, yes. Time holds us in the embrace, not as prisoners, but as students in the school of eternity. 1,000 years, 10,000 years. What are these to the soul that has touched the infinite? In the grand curriculum of consciousness, we are eternal beings having temporary human experiences, not human beings hoping for eternal existence. It's not that way. From this eternal perspective, what seems like a long time to the personality is merely a semester in the University of Existence. What feels like struggle and suffering to the human experience is curriculum designed to awaken us to our true nature. Okay? What appears as random events happening to us reveals itself as a perfectly designed learning experience happening for us. 1,000 years of knowing mentioned in the opening verse points to the vast context within which our individual awakening takes place. We are not the first to wake up, nor will we be the last. We are part of an ancient lineage of awakening that stretches back to the beginning of human consciousness and forward to the ultimate fulfillment. In this suspended moment between sleeping and waking, between the old world of separation and a new world of unity, that's the key. We are one. We learn that knowledge is not something we acquire, but something we remember. Truth is not discovered, but undiscovered. Like an archaeologist carefully brushing away centuries of accumulated dust to reveal the timeless artifacts beneath. Okay? They've hid so much from us. The knowledge that emerges in awakening is not intellectual, but intuitive. Not learned, but recognized. Not accumulated, but revealed. It comes not from books or teachers, but from the depths of our own being, from the place where we have always known what we temporarily forgot. The remembering often accompanied by a sense of profound relief, the relief of coming home after a long journey in foreign lands, the relief of remembering your name after a period of amnesia, the relief of finding what you didn't even know you had lost. With this remembering comes a recognition that all the seeking, all the spiritual practices, all the effort to become enlightened was based on the mistaken assumption that we lacked something we needed to acquire. The truth is that we have always been what we sought to become. We have always contained what we tried to find. We have always been connected to what we thought we were separated from. Right? The calling comes like morning light, gradual than sun, inevitable as sunrise, gentle as the breath that keeps us alive without remembering to breathe. It whispers our true names in languages older than words, speaks to the part of us that exists before birth and will continue after death. This calling is not a burden but a gift, not a demand, but an invitation to participate in the most magnificent adventure possible. The conscious evolution of human awareness itself, it asks nothing of us that we do not already possess, and everything that we have forgotten we are. The calling does not come from outside of us, but from within us, from the deepest core of our being that has never forgotten its true nature. It is not God calling from a distance, heaven, but the God nature within us calling the personality home. It is not a foreign voice imposing obligation, but our own authentic voice, finally free to speak. You finally connect with one, your mind. Yet, paradoxically, the most intimate and personal calling is also universal, echoing in the hearts of awakening souls all over the planet. The voice that calls your name is the same voice that calls every name. The light that dawns in your consciousness is the same light dawning everywhere. Conscious is ready to receive it. God's voice echoes in the chambers of the heart, not demanding obedience, but inviting participation in the great work of transformation. This is not the voice of distant deity requiring worship, but the voice of our own deepest nature calling us home to ourselves. God made us his own like and image. We are gods. We are creators. The God that speaks in awakening is not the authority and figure of traditional religion, demanding submission and threatening punishment for disobedience. This is the God of love, the God of inclusion, the God whose very nature is the unconditional acceptance of celebration of all that exists, all of us. We're all the same. The voice does not judge but appreciates. The voice does not judge but appreciates, does not condemn but includes, does not threaten but promises that we are loved beyond our ability to understand, supported beyond our capacity to imagine, and held by a love that has no conditions or exceptions. Plain and simple. To spread the story is to become the story, to tell the tale of how being itself shifts and changes, how philosophy becomes lived truth, how lonely pilgrims discover that they never were walking alone. We are not separate individuals trying to find God, but God finding God's self through infinite expressions of consciousness, each unique, each precious, each absolutely necessary for the whole. The story we are called to spread is not a story we learn from a book, but a story we have been living, that we are living, not a narrative about someone else's experience, but the testimony of our own transformation. We become living examples of what is possible when human consciousness awakened is a true nature. This story cannot be told through words alone, but must be embodied, lived, demonstrated through the quality of our presence. The authenticity, I get a little tongue-tied, I'm a little stutterbox sometimes. The authenticity of our love, the depth of our compassion, we become the message we are meant to share. The story of awakening is contagious. It is in the best possible way. When one person awakens to their true nature, it creates a field of possibility that makes awakening easier for others. When one heart opens fully, it creates space for other hearts to open. When one mind expands beyond its previous limitations, it establishes new possibilities for collective consciousness. Collective, as one. This is how transformation spreads, not through preaching or polarizing, but through presence, not through convincing others, but through becoming so authentically ourselves that others remember who they truly are. In the wilderness of modern life, faith becomes the compass that points not north, but inward, toward the true direction of the soul's journey home. External authorities and institutions may provide temporary guidance, but ultimate authority rests in a direct relationship between the soul and its source. The inward turning is not selfish or narcissistic. It is the most generous gift we can offer the world. For as we awaken to our true nature, we become beacons of possibility for others, living proof that transformation is not possibly, but inevitable. Big words, I'm sorry. The faith that emerges in awakening is not belief in doctrines or adhere to religious systems, but trust in the intelligence that creates us, that sustains us. That is calling us home to ourselves. It is faith in the fundamental goodness of existence, in the ultimate meaningfulness of our experience, in the perfect love that is our origin and our destination. This faith is tested not by doubt, but by experiences, not weakened by questioning, but strengthened by inquiry, not threatened by diversity, but enriched by it. Okay, it is the faith based not on what we have been told, but on what we have discovered for ourselves in the laboratory of our own direct experience. And there, in that homecoming, we discover that the mystics have always known, what the mystics have always known, that God's love is not scarce, but abundant beyond measure, that heaven is populated not with the few, but with billions upon billions of points of light, each one a soul awakening to its true nature, each one a star in the constellation of conscious evolution. Okay? This recognition brings profound relief and overwhelming joy. We are not alone in our struggles, our questions, our longing for something more. We are part of an ancient awakening that has been gathering momentum for millennia, reaching a crescendo in our time. You have to read the book so you can read it, but sound better than I do. The billions mentioned in the opening verse are not a distant promise, but a present reality. Every moment, souls are awakening in their true nature. Every day, hearts are opening to love. Every breath, consciousness is expanding beyond previous limitations. We are witnessing and participating in the greatest awakening in human history. It's happening now. I wouldn't be telling you this. Anybody that knows me from back home, that truly knows me, I'm just no hillbilly. This is not about becoming something we are not, but about removing the barriers to being what we have always been. It is not about earning God's love, but about recognizing the love we have always received. It is not about going somewhere else, but about coming home to where we have always been, inside. Okay? This recognition transforms everything without changing anything. The same life that we felt meaningless becomes purposeful. Not the rat race outside. That's meaningless in life that we live, okay? That they've given us. The same relationships that felt challenging become opportunities for growth and service. The same work that felt mundane becomes sacred calling. The same world that felt hostile becomes friendly. Kindness and love. Spread it. This is the first light, not the end of darkness, but the beginning of a new way of seeing, the dawn of recognition that we are not separate beings struggling in isolation, but facets of one diamond, waves in one ocean, notes in one eternal song that have been playing since before time began and will continue long after the last star has sung its final verse. In this awakening, we find not answers but better questions, not certainty but sacred mystery, not arrival but the joy of a conscious journey towards a destination that turns out to be the very place from which we started, home, at last, in the heart of God. Okay? The first light reveals that what we seek has always been seeking us, that what love has always been loving us, that what we are has always been perfect, whole, and complete. The journey of awakening is not becoming something new, but about removing the barriers we have constructed to experience what we have always been, true beings of God. This light grows brighter with each soul that awakens, each heart that opens, each mind that expands beyond its previous limitations. It is the light that cannot be extinguished because it is the very nature of consciousness itself. We all have a light and energy inside us. The barriers that we've constructed with experiences that we have always been. The light grows brighter with each soul that is awakened, opens each mind that expands beyond the previous limitations. Let me read that again. The light grows brighter with each soul that awakens, each heart that opens, each mind that expands beyond the previous limitations. It is a light that cannot be extinguished because it is a very nature of consciousness. It is the very nature of consciousness itself, not something we possess, but something we are. Okay. Sorry, it's been a while since I read aloud. I used to teach an apprenticeship program and I really loved it. So I love to teach. So please let me help you. As you read these words, that light is stirring within you, recognizing itself in these descriptions, remembering its true nature. You are not a seeker looking for truth. You are the truth itself, awakening to its own infinite nature through the beyond temporary. Through the beautiful, As you read these words, the light is stirring within you, recognizing itself in these descriptions, remembering its true nature. You are not a seeker looking for truth. You are the truth itself, awakening to its own infinite nature through the beautiful, temporary, precious form you call yourself. The first light has dawned, the awakening has begun, and you, dear soul, are both its witnesses and its agent, its beneficiary, and its blessing to the world. You are the light of the world, not because you have achieved something special, but because the light is your true nature, your birthright, your essence expressing itself through the unique and precious form of your individual existence. In this light, all separation dissolves. In the awakening, all questions are answered. In this homecoming, all seeking ends in the joy of being found by what was not lost, loved by what never stopped loving, held by what never let go. The first light is breaking. Can you see it? Can you feel it stirring within you? Can you trust this light? Can you trust that that light is not foreign to you, but the very essence of who you are, awakening itself through the beautiful vehicle of your consciousness? Welcome to the first light. Welcome to your awakening. Welcome home. Chapter 2, The Calling, I'll read tomorrow.